Hi there and welcome to Fuzzy on the Details. My name is Fuzzy and today we're continuing our deep dive analysis of the new rules from the Spider-Verse expansion to the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game, talking all about symbiotes. First, let's review what rules there were for symbiotes in the core rulebook. Pretty much all we had was the one origin that gives a character a 1 rank boost, plus 2 powers, Mighty 1 and Environmental Protection, and 1 trait, Anathema, for both Extreme Heat and Extreme Sonics. That gives them 2 extra powers they can spend as they wish. There's one little extra: if the symbiote is Venom or its offspring, Spider-Man does not gain any Spider-Verse benefits against that character. The Spider-Verse expansion gives us a whole lot more to play with, starting with new origins which differ based on whether they are derived from Venom or from Null. The Venom symbiote origin is significantly more powerful than the core rulebook version. This origin grants 2 levels instead of 1. In addition to Mighty 1 and Environmental Protection, they also get Disguised, which was only suggested in the CRB, Healing Factor, Webcasting, and Wall Crawling. That leaves an extra 2 powers to take, or more if you've got a thematic bonus. And for traits, you get the same Anathema plus Anti-Venom. You also get Berserker and a new trait called Symbiotic Spider Blinder. While bonded to a symbiote, characters with Spider Blinder cannot be detected by the spider sense of any character who was previously bonded to the same symbiote or its offspring. Specifically, they don't get an edge on vigilance checks to perceive danger from that symbiote, and they don't get trouble on agility checks against the vigilance defense of characters with spider sense. Now, this may seem like the same rule mentioned in the CRB, but there are important differences. I think this chart is the easiest way to track them. The left column has all of the benefits from the Spider Sense power. In the middle column, we see that the core rulebook symbiote origin negates all of them, but only for Spider-Man Peter Parker. Very specific. In the right column, we see that Spider Blinder applies to any character who has previously bonded with the same symbiote. Additionally, it only negates 2 out of the 4 benefits of Spider Sense: vigilance checks to perceive danger, and trouble on agility checks against the character's vigilance defense. The initiative bonus and the agility defense benefit are not impacted by Spider Blinder. So just keep in mind that this works differently than what you may be used to. Now let's take a look at the Null symbiote origin. This only grants an increase of 1 rank. They don't get Spider Blinder, but they do get Berserker and a slightly different Anathema, Lightning instead of Anti-Venom. The powers they get are a subset of what the new Venom origin grants, just 4 of them, with Disguise, Environmental Protection, Healing Factor, and Mighty 1. As a reminder, here's how Anathema works. In combat, if someone used Lightning against a Null symbiote or Sonic damage against Venom, it would ignore damage reduction and could not be healed by Healing Factor. Also, the symbiote could not enter a space with, say, Extreme Heat. If they were touched by it, they take damage. It is up to the narrator to decide what Extreme Sonics means, and that's not really defined anywhere. Would Banshee or Siren Sonic attack qualify? No brainer for me. What about a police siren or a jet taking off, or gunfire? Well, if you're planning on playing a symbiote, it's best to check with your narrator to define these situations before they happen. Now let's talk about symbiote powers. And I don't mean the powers you get for being bonded to a symbiote, as laid out in those 2 new origins, but rather the powers that a symbiote has that it can use against the character that it is bonded with. These won't be listed anywhere in your character sheet, so just think of them as free abilities the symbiote gets whenever they are in a bonded state. The idea here is that when the host is asleep, they are considered to be at 0 focus, so certain powers like telepathic possession can be used against them. Symbiotes could use this power and then use memory blip or edit memory to ensure that the host had no idea what was going on at night, perhaps even leaving the host in an exhausted state with no idea why they're so tired when they wake up in the morning. Exhausted is one of the new conditions from the Spider-Verse expansion, and it could be a real pain for a sleep-deprived host to deal with. However, Cure-All is one of the powers a symbiote could use on its host, and this power can eliminate the exhausted condition. Note that because Cure-All came out before the Spider-Verse expansion, Exhausted is not explicitly listed with the other conditions in the power description. However, I did check in with the folks at Marvel, and they confirmed that Cure-All works on both the frightened and the exhausted conditions as well. Thanks as always to Amir from Marvel for confirming this for me. Next, let's talk about antivenom, or antivenoms, because it does refer to two different things. One, it could refer to its serum form, also called an astrobiological serum, like those in these big ol' vats in the comics here, or it could be antivenom the symbiote itself. Either one of these is anathema to other symbiotes. So, this means if Agent Antivenom uses his Spider Strike, a ram attack, or even a basic melee attack, it would bypass any damage reduction and could not be healed. Similarly, if Antivenom grabbed a symbiote, it would actually do the rank 3 damage that Anathema normally does, since this is direct contact. Thank you to Amir again for this clarification. And you know, one of the great things about this game is that you can always look to the comics to decide how you might want to interpret a rule at your table. These images come from Venom Inc. and the creative team of Slott, Costa, Stegman, Reber, and Caramagna. And just reading through a few of these comics gave me all sorts of great ideas for how I might use antivenom in a combat. So, shout out to these guys with gratitude for the inspiration. Okay, so here's where stuff gets a little weird. Before we can discuss how a symbiote bonds with a host, we have to talk about what an unbonded symbiote is. First off, there's an unbonded symbiote profile in the character section. This could be a symbiote right from Clintar that maybe hasn't bonded with a host before, or it could be a symbiote that was removed from its previous host body, desperately seeking a new host. So, how can a symbiote be removed from a host? Well, the easiest way is by mutually agreeing to do so, either temporarily or permanently. Sometimes, though, the host wants to evict the symbiote. To do this, you can expose the symbiote to its anathema, which forces the parasite to make a target number 13 resilience check, usually with an edge if they are fully bonded. The symbiote uses a resilience score of 1 for this roll. Note, I've spoken to Marvel about this, and the listed score of 0 is an error. It should be 1, which is the listed resilience of an unbonded symbiote in the character section. And once again, thank you, Amir, for that confirmation. If successful, the symbiote manages to hang on and remain bonded. If not, the symbiote is removed. Keep in mind this roll could be triggered every time in combat when a symbiote is exposed to its anathema, with the only difference being that the character can choose to use the symbiote resilience of 1 or their own, depending on whether they want to remain bonded to the symbiote or not. Once unwillingly unbonded in this way, the symbiote is a separate creature with 0 health. It is formless instead of unconscious. It only has move actions it can use to ooze away from combat. If it gets knocked down to the point where it would be killed or shattered, it becomes inert. A symbiote can only be killed by being brought to that inert stage by its anathema, or if its anathema is applied after it has reached that inert state. Adding a symbiote is pretty easy. You get Extraordinary Origin and the tags and traits associated that we discussed earlier. The number of ranks you gain depends on how many powers you get. For example, if you get 4 powers for a given symbiote, you'll raise 1 rank. And you must spend those 4 power slots you get for raising that rank on those 4 powers. However, if you get 6 powers, you'll need to rise 2 ranks. Take those 6 powers with 6 of the 8 slots you'll get, leaving the remaining 2 slots to spend on whatever you'd like. Remember, all traits and tags are granted for free, so you will have an extra trait to play with when you gain a rank. Well, true believers, that's all I've got for you today. As always, thank you so much for your support, and we'll see you in the next deep dive. Have a great day!